Hello friends. The last time I've been in the river was January. Here we are in the middle of July. Work has been keeping me busy. I really want to get into making videos again, so here's an attempt. I don't know if I'm going to find anything. We did have really high water and some flooding over the last couple months, so maybe it dredged something up, but we're going to have a look. If anything, maybe I could find a couple marbles today. So let's see what happens. The water is a tad murky today, but visible to see things on the bottom in this shallow area. And the reason why I am not snorkeling up and getting into the deeper stuff, my GoPro Hero 10 battery is jammed in the compartment, and it even smoked a little bit when I was trying to get it out. So of course I immediately put that thing in a metal bucket and on cement away from my house, and I'm going to see if there's a specialist that could remove that battery and salvage the camera. Here's a couple bottles here. It looks like a whiskey or something like that, and maybe a ketchup. I don't know. Have to have a look. Yeah, that's broken. It just disintegrated. And what is this? This is a Crush with an applied color label. Regrettably though, the applied color label, or ACL, is worn off. Just hooked this mason jar with a pretty good embossing of an anchor on it. Doesn't look terribly old. Maybe it's from the 60s or 50s. I'll research it when we get back and let you know. So what am I looking for? I'm looking for anything that's a different color or shape than things found in nature. This looks like a glass jar, so with my rake I'll tap it and then just lightly drag the rake on there, and I can feel it's ultra smooth. It looks like the neck of this is here. I'm not expecting this to be anything great, although it might be. Let's have a look. Looks like a mason type jar. How old and what year? There's the zinc. Yeah, that's a ball mason jar. It doesn't look to have any chips or damage on it. It still has like a rubber seal. Ball perfect mason. I'll have to look at the way that the cursive is written to tell you what time frame. I think this is going to be 1910s to 1930s. It's got some bubbles in the glass that you can see right there, which is possibly a little earlier, and I don't know what that is. It doesn't look like usually there's a number on the bottom, but we'll have a detailed look. Milk bottles are always fun to find, and I probably have over 100 of them at this point. This one here is broken, but that's kind of the silhouette that you want to look for. Let's see if any detail could be ascertained. No, the area with the embossing is gone, but that's the top of an old milk bottle. This will give you an idea of kind of how big the clams or mussels or whatever you want to call these things are. They're pretty large. This one's about 4.5 to 5 inches. So is that a sign the Cuyahoga River is doing better? Probably. It's a fairly large snail too. The crayfish in here are unbelievably big as well. Now this looks like it could be a glass lid to mason jars. And that's exactly what that is. I don't see any chips on that. We'll take that. Here's one of the crayfish. You typically don't see them in the open like this, but they are indeed everywhere. He's about a medium size. They get much larger. I always like to look at plates, even if they're broken, just to see if there's any kind of design on them. As usual, about a floral pattern. The reason why I could come back here year after year after year is because of what you're seeing here. Hopefully you guys can see that. It's the sediment shifting. It's happening right before our eyes, and the bottom of the river is constantly moving and changing. There's debris, the little darker pieces in the sand, everything moving. Now I would always find a lot of marbles. In fact, it was my thing. And now there doesn't seem to be any here today. I might find one if I get lucky. But I think that there's possibly two reasons. One, more people were, searching the river. They're the first thing people see are brightly colored marbles, so they're easy finds. And two, perhaps the bottom of the river shifted and that layer with the marbles is now buried, not to be uncovered until whenever the bottom shifts again. Here's a small item. Do you guys see the button right there? Probably modern. Let's see what this is. It looks like it's made out of plastic, maybe the 1960s. Well, it looks like I'm going to get to pop at least one marble out today. Right here, looks like a green cat eye. Oh, that looks pretty clean. I always hit marbles with a Mr. Clean magic eraser. That seems to get all grime off of them. Here's a cork top bottle. I'll bet you this thing is only half, but we'll see. Is it tight in there? Yeah, it's tight. It's probably some kind of condiment jar. No embossing. H.J. Heinz. Patent 2. Probably pickles or something. There's probably some creatures living in here. Always when you take your bottles, make sure that you rinse them out because the crayfish live in there, and then it's been on numerous occasions I find them in the hatch of my vehicle. The other thing you want to consider is don't rinse them out until you're fully done for the day, because if you empty them and you are going underwater, which I normally do when I have a good GoPro, the air can make them float out of your pouch, and if you don't have them properly secured or weighted down with or filled with water, then they just float away. I thought this was a fragment at first, but it's not broken in half. That looks to be the bottom, so I moved a little bit with my rake. That is the bottom of this, whatever that is. Maybe an old soda, maybe an old beer. It's pretty smooth. Let's see, is it intact? It is intact. Does it have embossing? Yes, it does. Does it have the cork still in the top? Was this a cork? Yeah, that's a cork. Well, what do you know? 120 plus year old beer. This says the Akron, that's probably brewing company, the Akron Brewing Company. That'll be a nice cobalt blue bottle. Normally I would look, there's some bubbles in the glass there. Normally I look along the bottom and you'll find letter codes. Does this one have the letter codes? It doesn't appear, but we'll clean it up and have a look. But it's always good when you find an old embossed beer or soda. That makes the trip worth it. Always inspect tree limbs and rocks on the bottom of the river, and glass objects get caught. This is going to be nothing special, but it illustrates the point. Maybe there's a little crayfish in here. Don't see anybody, no one's home, and it's a slick, but that's how it happens, and that's where you want to look. Well, I'm scanning the rocks just like the tree limbs, and I thought this was the top of a bottle, and I just touched it with the rake and then it moved, and this is a little cork top. Look at that. It's a slick cork top, probably some kind of medicine bottle. Oh, it does have a chip in it. But there you go, again, another example how this happens. It can be easy to pass up a common milk glass like this Pond's Cold Cream, but this one still has the lid on it. And why that's relevant to me is in an age before Ziploc bags and waterproof pouches, sometimes people took what they had to secure items so they wouldn't get lost. So I'll break this open and see if there is anything in this other than cold cream. Nothing but cold cream in that one. Here's a glass bottle, and it looks like it's probably a ketchup or something like that. Do I feel panels? No, it's rounded. Do I feel a broken neck? Yes, I do. What is it? It's a Duraglass, 1936. Anyone's guess what was in that? Well, I'll tell you what. I know what a rifle stock looks like. And that looks like a stock of a rifle. But it's a little small. It could be a toy, or maybe it's a log. Let's see what this is. Oh, it is a stock. It is a plastic stock. There it is, a child's toy. They made them a little more. Oh, look at that little guy. See, always rinse out whatever you find. This is his home. I'm gonna put him back where he was. Well, can't miss that silhouette of a hobble skirt Coke. The question is, how old is it? And is it intact? It's not intact, and it has no embossing, so that's relatively new. Sad. Another common item in the Cuyahoga River are these brass shotgun shells. This one was unfired and dropped. Anytime I see circular objects, it piques my interest, so I fanned this a little bit. And this is some kind of pot. Maybe get rid of some of the... Oh, it's a frying pan. Let's see here. Looks like a modern frying pan. You never know what you will find. Another bottle. Right. What is this? Would have been an ACL. There. ACL's gone. But a soda. Probably from the 40s or 50s. This is a stoneware salt glazed pet bowl. The oldest pet bowl I've ever found. And do you know how I know this is a pet bowl? Kitty. Here's a fishing lure. Looks in pretty good shape. Could probably put new hooks on that. Has some stuff inside to make noise. Well, this was very interesting. I popped the stopper out of this Akron Brewing Company beer, and it's a rubber type stopper. It was pressurized, and when I popped the cork out of there, or rubber stopper, a lot of it like sprayed out, and then I dumped it out here. I do believe that this still had the beer in it, and it's probably what you're looking at. Quite amazing if that's the case, if this still had the beer in it. It's cleanup time, and let's start with some of the smaller items. That little fishing lure, will I repurpose it? Probably not. A button from the 1960s, 70s, who knows. A nice little marble. Put that in the marble jar at the end. A solid brass Winchester. Let's see if we can get it focused in there. Winchester number 12 gauge shot shell. And these were in common use from the late 1800s through the mid 40s, like even in World War II, these things were being used. But that's the date range for that. And you do find a lot of these in the river. A little corktop medicine, a mason jar lid, and lids of this type, I would put this at 1910 to 1930, based on the color of the glass and the styling. And we got a anchor hawking in this jar based on that symbol with the anchor and the H. And look how perfect that came out of the river. These were made from 1905 to 1937. So if you average that time frame out, it could be 100 years old, but we just will never know. But that is a fantastic looking jar. And we got the Ball Perfect Mason. And there's a lot of charts online where you look at the styling of how Ball is written. And for this one, 1933 to 1962, I would put it in the 30s or a little thereafter. And how can I do that? Well, I base it off of the junk that was found around it, and that would be the time frame. So it's a good bet this is 1930s, 1940s. It has this on the bottom, which is normally a number, I guess, for the mold, but that doesn't look like any kind of number unless it's like a skewed number 9. If you guys know, then please let me know in the comments. Nice little jar here with some imperfections, some bubbles. As you can see, pretty good shape. And that also had the rubber ring on it still. What else? The beer bottle. The Akron Brewing Company. And this is a little fogged. I've been telling myself I should get a bottle turner. A lot of the bottles I have don't have any chips or cracks, and when turned they would look fantastic. But the Akron Brewing Company was from 1903 to 1919. And let's see, rubber stoppers like the one that was found in here, and here it is. Rubber stoppers like this were in common use between 1870 and 1920. So that certainly fits the range that I researched for the Akron Brewing Company. This was sealed, and when I popped that out, like I said, it was pressurized. And the brown slurry that came out of here smelled absolutely rancid. And I do believe that this was a sealed Akron Brewing Company beer from between 1903 to 1919. That would put it definitely over 100 years old. It was still sealed. It probably fell in the river when somebody was walking along, or in a boat if the river was deeper back then. I don't know. But it has some common things you see on older bottles, like the bubbles in the glass. And the mold seam for this goes all the way to the top, and that's one way that you could tell that this bottle is after 1900, but nevertheless over 100 years old. So that's cool to find one that had never been opened. That's never happened to me before. There must be some metal in the center of this rubber stopper, because you see there's like rust deposits and stuff like that. So that's everything for a quick little hunt that wasn't bad, getting back into the swing of things. Before we have a look at the puppy, one final thing. Let's take this marble and put it in the marble jars, like that. So many marbles in the Cuyahoga River. From the 1860s, I've found like Clay Bennington German handmaids to uranium marbles loaded, because the Cuyahoga River just was the marble capital of the world during the golden age of marbles. Marble production everywhere, especially in that Akron area. And how did they get there? People threw them away in the trash. Kids shot them into the river with slingshots. Any number of reasons that they would be in the river. So now let's have a look at that puppy. Here's our new Frenchie, Buddy, and who knows, maybe perhaps he could come along on one of our adventures one day. Until next time, happy hunting, everybody.